And this evening, Commissioner of Shraj, Loretta Lamte, removed from office. Government outdoors 3-story 15-unit classroom block for Obuasi Senior High Technical School. Government compensates bird flu affected poultry farmers. And cargo plane crashes on takeoff in South Sudan's capital Juba, killing at least 36 people. A very good evening to you. You're welcome to the studios of GBC24 here in the capital. This is News Hour and you're welcome once again. My name is Selikem Akola Chiapalu.
And my name is Akmene Avo Ajaja. Clement Sam is also here with us. He'll do the sign language translation of the news.
And in our very first story, President John Mahama has removed the Commissioner for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Shraj, Madam Loretta Lamte, from office.
This is in pursuant to Article 1469 of the Constitution. The President's decision follows the recommendations of a committee set up by the Chief Justice.
The Chief Justice set up the committee following a petition submitted against Madam Lamte.
The committee has concluded that Madam Lamte was unfit to hold the position of Commissioner for Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Let's move to the Ashanti region now, where the Old Tafo police in Kumasi are hunting for a 23-year-old man, Rex Jemfi, for allegedly absconding with 18,200 Ghana cedis belonging to his employer. Jemfi, a resident of Tafo Pankrano Estate in Kumasi, is also believed to have duped customers of the employer of an undisclosed amount of money.
The suspect, who speaks fluent Twi, English, Hausa and Ewe, is fair in complexion and is believed to be hiding in either Kumasi, Accra, Kaswa or Akwetia in the eastern region. A source at the Pankrano police station said the deal was uncovered when an audit was conducted into his account in late July this year, but he managed to bolt. The complainant, Mr. Patrick Jemfi, said the suspect was engaged about a year ago on humanitarian grounds following several appeals by his father, who was sick and unemployed. He said efforts to reach out to the suspect's father since the incident has also not yielded any positive results.
I called the father and the father told me they are working things out to bring the guy. The guy is with them in Accra, but since I've not heard from them. Just this week, another client brought 3,200 cedis that he missed this kind of payment, but it didn't reflect in his accounts. And now I'm running on debt. I need to find this guy.
And moving on to the presidency, Vice President Kwesi Emisa Arthur has stated that quality education will continue to be one of the pillars of the Mahama administration, for which it will provide the infrastructural needs of schools. Inaugurating a 3-story 15-unit classroom block for the Obuasi Senior High Technical School, he said the government will close the gap between the less endowed schools and their first-class counterparts through aggressive infrastructural developments. A story by Nuto Bibini Nuto.
Obuasi Senior High Technical School is the pride of the mining town in Ashanti region. Yet, the school has little to boast about, though it chalks 50 in a fortnight. The asbestos roofs on these buildings need replacement, while the school's old bus is unable to meet the increasing demand of the school. Worst of all, the classroom facilities meant for some 600 students cannot cope with the 3,000 students currently pursuing academic excellence there. This magnificent 3-story 15-unit classroom block comes in handy to both teachers and students who struggle to cope with limited space. It is fully furnished and some final year classes have even started using it before its commissioning. The management of the school decided to christen the facility at a Mills block to immortalize the memory of the late president who initiated the project. Both management and students were grateful to government for the timely intervention.
The magnificent edifice will in a large extent enhance teaching and learning and ultimately translate into improved academic performance.
The name of the block is Atamo's Block, which is commissioned by the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. We appreciate what he has done, and we insist to tell them that we need your help more.
At first, when students come in, they will be occupying the science laboratory and the other classrooms, in which the students are too many to occupy such classes. But this block will, contain all the students who will be coming in and also help those who are here.
With this classroom block, pressure will ease on infrastructure, especially as Obuasi Senior High Technical School prepares to welcome first-year students next week. GBC24, Obuasi.
And still in Obuasi, an ultra-modern lorry park has been commissioned in the mining town, befitting of the town which has contributed foreign exchange to the country for years. It was a public-private partnership project which promises to lead to many such innovative developments at the district level. Vice President Kwesi Amissah-Arthur, who commissioned the lorry park, encouraged operators of the facility to maintain it to ensure value for money. Another report by Nuto Bibini Nuto.
This is Obuasi, the ancient mining town, which has provided the bulk of the precious stone which has raked in foreign exchange for more than 100 years. Yet, development here is not commensurate with wealth produced from these parts of the country. Government has therefore decided to reverse the trend by building at least modest infrastructure like this modern lorry park.
Police station and fire station into the second phase the construction of the hospital, a banking hall, a police station and a fire station.
The lorry park comes with projects like a police post, a banking hall and a 240-seater water closet. The public-private venture is on a build, operate and transfer basis which will be operated by the private investor Oracle Business Limited and will revert to the people of Obuasi in 35 years. It is expected to benefit many transport operators in the Ashanti region.
Akoso jojo mochiche schools 50 no adanse kwa mo maye miensa ye damase formana mochiche hospitals mama formana hospital 120 bed hospital ba kon kache president say ye damase na the best ne said the minister kan ye no Obuasi mine adanse mine Ghana mine nyina no ye hwe said ye mfie mienu ye beba ha no na aha ye fefefe.
Vice President Kwesi Amissah-Arthur noted that government was well aware of its social contract with the people of Ghana, which it will not default.
Yabai no yes a people-centered government. The bia ye ko bia ye ja development. Ye pese Ghana nyina infrastructure eba insio beba nsio enuma ye hospitals, schools na ne abe computer information communication technology ni nyina beba magana for yafa entampa efra.
After commissioning the modern lorry park, the Vice President Amissah-Arthur and his entourage cut the sword for construction works to begin on a market and another transport terminal at Kunka, a suburb of Obuasi. GBC24, Obuasi.
And back in the capital, let's turn our attention now to agriculture. And the government has presented a compensation package to 25 poultry farmers who were affected by the recent outbreak of the avian influenza, also known as bird flu. The affected farmers were identified by the veterinary department under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and had their birds destroyed to prevent further spread of the disease. The Minister for Food and Agriculture, Mr. Fifi Kwete, who presented the checks to the farmers, said the compensation is to get the affected farmers back on their feet and to encourage early reporting as part of the control measures to curb further spread of the virus. About 5 months ago, there was an outbreak of avian influenza in the country, especially in the Greater Accra region, and a total of 44,144 fowls were destroyed to halt the outbreak of the disease, which spreads from birds to birds and from birds to humans. As a result, some of the poultry farmers were thrown out of business. Some poultry farmers feel reluctant to report unusual symptoms among their birds for fear of losing money if the birds are destroyed. Others just do not know what to do in such circumstances. A veterinary doctor at the Veterinary Service Department, Dr. Joseph Adongo Awuni, says symptoms of bird flu are similar to those of the Newcastle disease, a common poultry disease.
For avian influenza, it infects a great number of avian species, from waterfowls to domestic poultry, and even wild birds, even the local wild birds. They get affected, some of them clinically. Some of them do not show clinical signs and they do not die, but they carry these viruses for a long time, sharing them as they fly around.
The affected farmers received compensation according to the amount of poultry feed and birds and eggs that were contaminated by the virus and destroyed. Presenting the checks to the farmers, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Mr. Fifi Kwete, said payment of the compensation was in line with the current market value of poultry and poultry products and feed to the 25 affected farmers. He was grateful to the Food and Agriculture Organization for their consistent financial and technical support in the prevention and control of bird flu in the country.
The payment of compensation is a step to invest the funds back into poultry production. Farms that were affected, some sentiment beds are going to be placed on those farms to assure farmers that the farm is free from the disease and that farmers can start production again.
He said farmers who were recently hit by the outbreaks in rural areas are being processed for payment. The Deputy Minister for Agriculture in charge of livestock, Dr. Hannah Bissell, encouraged Ghanaians to continue to eat poultry and poultry products in the country because they are safe from avian flu. She said the local ones are highly nutritious as compared to the foreign ones. An affected poultry farmer, General Edwin Kwamina Sam, retired of Delaware Farms, who also lost so many of his birds to the disease, spoke to our news team.
When the crisis started, we had over 30,000 birds. By the time the veterinary came in to deal with the problem, we had over 28,000. And these were the ones destroyed by the veterinary services.
An amount of 1.1 million Ghana cedis was disbursed to the 25 affected farmers as compensation package.
To education now. The Institute of Commercial Management, ICM, has held discussions with the National Accreditation Board to reduce challenges in the educational sector. Top on the list of issues was how to widen access to tertiary education in the country. The ICM believes that students who are denied access to tertiary education can sign on to ICM courses as a means of getting a foot in the job market.
In the 2014-2015 academic year, the University of Ghana received 37,326 student applications, but only 14,883 gained admission, perhaps due to the lack of educational facilities to handle all 37,000 plus. The picture is the same in most public and private universities in the country. To help address this challenge, the Institute of Commercial Management, ICM, had an interaction with the National Accreditation Board on offering appropriate options to students. The deliberations focused on presenting alternatives to Ghanaian students who have the desire to pursue further education but do not either have the means to do so or are cut off by limited space in the country's universities. The institute holds the view that they have what it takes to provide tertiary education to such students. The chief executive of ICM, Mr. Adele Somville Ford, said the institute will continue to maintain high standards.
Our mission is to provide high quality, but low-cost education across the world. And hopefully we are managing to achieve that. But above all, the most important thing for us is standards.
The Executive Secretary of the National Accreditation Board, Mr. Kwame Dati, urged the institute to make it a point to monitor its graduates to ensure they were performing well in their various places of employment.
What I would suggest you do in the years ahead also is to try and do some tracer studies to see where your graduates are in the various employment areas. And let's find out from the employers how they are doing. And you also confine yourselves to the accredited institutions, because those are the ones we assess and we can attest.
And staying with education, the 13th Ghana International Book Fair has opened at the International Trade Fair Center in Accra. At a ceremony to open the fair, a Deputy Minister for Education, Mr. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, said the Ministry of Education has put aside $75 million to help promote reading habits in the country. This and other interventions are also captured in the National Development Plan framework. The wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Matilda Emisa Arthur, was at the opening of the week-long International Book Fair.
For the next 4 days, the fair, a one-stop shop for all educational needs, is expected to attract school children, educational institutions, publishers, writers, exhibitors, the book industry, and members of the public from Ghana, Africa, and beyond. The fair is also a platform for participants to share ideas and learn more about information communication technology, ICT, through e-commerce, the use of social networks, application of ICT in marketing and management of businesses, through exhibitions, seminars, and conferences. At the opening, the president of the Ghana Book Publishers Association, Dr. Samuel Osafo Akwa, stated that the book industry is there to educate and inform society on social, economic, scientific and technological advancement which directly impact on national development agenda, and this underlies the theme for the fair, which is Professional Book Publishing and E-Services, a resource for national development. The moderator of the Global Evangelical Church, Reverend Dr. Edem Tete, suggested that a publisher's professional body be established to make professional book publishing and e-services effective. A Deputy Minister for Education, Mr. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, reiterated the government commitment to go into consultation with the Publishers Association to ensure that what is published is relevant to national development.
We have begun the implementation of the President's directive that from the 2015-2016 academic year, our books that are purchased should be printed locally. We want that by 2017, at least 80% of our children at the primary school level should be able to read and write.
The wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Matilda Emisa Arthur, congratulated the organizers of the fair for bringing knowledge to the doorsteps of the people.
The Ghana Book Fair is standing, but I would wish that we would explore more avenues to make it even better. Get industry to come, get other players to come, because everybody reads, everybody buys books.
More than 20 local and international publishers and companies are taking part in the 7-day fair organized by the Ghana Book Publishers Association, GBPA. Theodora Medeto, GBC24, Accra.
Eston is live on your news channel GBC24 and GTV. In some more stories, stateless children across the world share similar feelings of discrimination, frustration and despair. According to a new UNHCR report, this is creating problems that can endure into adulthood.
The geographically diverse survey dubbed I Am Here, I Belong, the urgent need to end childhood statelessness says the common problems they face in the countries under review affect their ability to enjoy childhood, lead a healthy life, and their ability to study and fulfill their ambitions.
The dozens of young people in 7 countries interviewed said that being stateless had taken a serious psychological toll on them, describing themselves as invincible, alien, and living in a shadow.
The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Antonio Guterres, stressed that the report, released 1 year after the launch of the UNHCR's number 1 I Belong campaign to end statelessness by 2024, highlights the need to end the suffering of stateless children in a world where a child is born stateless at least every 10 minutes.
Moving on to some more stories. The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Nana Oyelitha, says her ministry is working tirelessly to ensure gender parity and equity at all levels in the country.
And if that is achieved, it would mean that women and girls will enjoy the same human rights and opportunities as their male counterparts.
In her term review report on Ghana's gender agenda in focus, Nana Oyelitha said the government is committed to the gender equality cause.
The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection has since 2013 worked to mainstream gender issues in the National Development Agenda. Its focus is to promote women's access to economic, educational and other opportunities. In her mid-term report, the Gender Minister Nana Oyelitha mentioned a number of bills waiting to be passed into laws. These include the National Gender Policy, Child and Family Welfare Policy, Adoption and Foster Care Regulations, National Social Protection Strategy, Property Rights of Spouse Bills, as well as the Domestic Violence Bill. She also touched on some projects the ministry has undertaken over the last 2 years.
We're working on reducing fistula. So what we've done is under the Department for Gender and with support from the ECOWAS Secretariat, we have facilitated fistula repairs for 82 women from all across the country and also help them to get some vocation and employment.
The minister also reiterated the need for gender mainstreaming to include targeted actions and investment in the formation and implementation of all financial, economic, environmental and social policies.
With respect to the Affirmative Action Bill, it will be submitted to Cabinet within the next week or 2 for consideration. It will address the gender inequality and gender imbalances in public office and correct some historical wrongs. It is an integral part of our gender agenda and it seeks to increase the numbers of women in public office.
She said the ministry has adopted the Ghana Gender Agenda Development Framework, which embodies some of the key elements of the Shared Growth and Development Agenda SGDA 2.
You're watching Nizar live on your news channel GBC24 and GTV.
We'll take a break here. When we return, our colleague Morris Ogbete on the Business News Desk will join us with what's happening in the world of business.
A very good evening. Thanks for staying on, and thanks to EcoBank, Entel and Hisense, sponsors of the business news. Now, development experts are proposing the establishment of a new development bank to serve as a financing vehicle to facilitate the transformation of the Northern Savannah Ecological Zone. According to them, the development bank will pool the resources of all the players working in Sada Zone together to facilitate economic transformation.
Over the years, several efforts have been put in place by successive governments and their development partners to reduce poverty in the Savannah Zone. However, this has not yielded the necessary result. The Savannah Zone has the highest poverty levels in Ghana, despite its rich natural resources and arable lands for farming. This made the government set up the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority (SADA) in 2009 to facilitate the development of the SADA zone.
The other functions of SADA is to attract thousands of prospective investors to the area, to curate and expand the opportunities and potential in the agricultural and other economic sectors in the Northern Savannah Zone, and also to attract international and local investments. SADA has, however, faced a lot of challenges, with funding being the major one. Hence, the proposal for the Development Bank to serve as a financing vehicle for the Northern Savannah Ecological Zone. The Chief Executive of SADA, Mr. Charles Abugri, said the Savannah Zone is endowed with a lot of resources which needs to be tapped to transform the area.
We cannot encourage our investors to invest if they do not have a way of also dealing with the locational disadvantages, which translate into higher risks and costs. We have to deal with infrastructure. That's a public-private thing in some ways.
A representative of the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, Mr. Luabenya Kapiamba, said the development for the savannah is the best approach to tackle poverty in the area. The Deputy Minister for Finance, Mrs. Mona Kote, welcomed the move and pledged government support to establish the Development Bank.
The Development Finance Institution should work in sync with government policy that is focused on products that bring real and measurable economic development. 2. The new vehicle must provide resources to facilitate key knowledge exchanges and trade between the NSEZ and the rest of Ghana and ultimately the sub-region.
The financial advisor of the Development Bank, Madam Ophelia Frema Atobra, was of the view that a development bank will help establish the activities of SADA.
The vehicle is to coordinate. Yeah, we're not going to be lending direct to SMEs or no, but we are going to support and work with the existing structures to be able to make sure that they work efficiently and effectively for the transformation agenda.
According to Expect, the Development Bank will help transform the authority into the backbone of socio-economic advancement for bridging the development gap between the north and the south of Ghana.
And still in business, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce will from 2016 increase its participation in the ECOWAS sub-region to promote trade between the U.S. and the ECOWAS. This was disclosed by the Vice President of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce for African Affairs when he launched the U.S. ECOWAS Business Initiative in Accra.
The U.S. Chamber of Commerce is the world's largest business organization, representing the interest of more than 3 million businesses. The membership ranges from mom and pop shops and local chambers to leading industry associations and large corporations. The chamber has associations across the world, and the ECOWAS sub-regional market is the latest market for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce to venture. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce therefore launched the U.S. ECOWAS Business Initiative, which will serve as a trade and advocacy coalition created through a partnership between the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. U.S. ECOWAS Business Initiative will also aim to promote trade and strengthen economic and commercial ties between the United States and the ECOWAS. The Vice President of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce for African Affairs, Scout Esner, said the partnership will direct investment from the over 3 million members into the sub-region.
Every country has a role to play independently of ECOWAS, but dependent on each other is truly the future of the U.S.-Africa trading relationship. And that's why we launched this initiative earlier this year, to help U.S. companies address some of the major issues within the region, whether it's power production, whether it's bringing down the barriers and non-tariff barriers to trade flows, to see the growth and the expansion of supply chains, to see the retail markets within Africa and within ECOWAS and with Ghana in particular grow at a substantial rate.
The initiative will focus on advocating for trade agreements, removing obstacles to trade and investment opportunities, launching policy-driven initiatives to promote bilateral trade, empowering direct investment, and strengthening U.S. ECOWAS cooperation on energy.
And so for some time now, the Ghana cedi has shown stability against all major trading currencies on the interbank market. will get the details. We also bring you latest price of gold, cocoa and oil on the international commodities market. And that was business brought to you by EcoBank, Airtel, and Hisense. The news continues.
Thanks for staying on. Let's talk health now, brought to you by FPAC Blows Your Pain Away. Authorities of the police hospital are appealing to relatives of 4 accident victims who are fully recovered but are still on admission to come and claim them because they have lost their memory and therefore cannot remember their families or their own names. The hospital authorities say they have become a drain on the hospital's resources. A report by Serofori and Abednego Mensah.
All 4 patients were either found immobile or unconscious by the police patrol team at various locations within Accra. They were bruised and unkempt. As long as it was required, the police hospital had provided treatment to the 4 on admission. This elderly woman, believed to be in her late 50s, was admitted from the 15th of September this year. She was found lying unconscious by the Teshi Beach Road. Her wounds are now healed and she can now walk by herself. Although she speaks some amount of English and Krobo, her thoughts were incoherent and she could remember nothing from her past. She occupies a ward that takes 3 people because she occasionally gets violent.
Now she's fine. I mean, she talks. When she's hungry, you see her coming out. But when she's not getting food, then she becomes very aggressive. Very aggressive. That is when she's hungry. Of late, she goes out to pick other people's things in their other wards. So the cloth she's wearing is not for her. She just went out and saw somebody's cloth and took it. So, but hurting somebody for now, no. Only that she'll be throwing things. That's why we have to pack all these things out.
Although admitted on the 2nd of October, Dede Saki, as she claims is her name, seemed to recall where she lives but appeared to be out of touch with reality. She says she is a fishmonger. At the moment, she isn't fit to be discharged due to a swollen foot.
She's calm. I mean, sometimes she becomes aggressive, especially when you want to take something that belongs to her. She keeps, her food under the bed, those that she's not able to eat, and she will not allow anybody to take it. So we have to wait when she's asleep, then we have to smuggle ourselves under the bed to pick all those things out. But as she's awake, she will not allow anybody to touch it.
The male ward also holds 2 accident victims who are unable to recall barely anything. 39-year-old Emmanuel Chidibera is of Nigerian descent from Anambra State and speaks Igbo language. He was found at Adenta and admitted since July this year. He mentioned his mother as Patience Akpara, his father as Stanley Akpara, and his brothers as Samuel and Joseph Chidibera. Mauli is 28 years old and was found in a pool of blood at Asylum Down. He mentions his mother as David Bera from Akachi. Although they both came in with fractures, Mauli's leg is all straightened. He is reported to be occasionally aggressive. All 4 patients have been placed on treatment at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Each day spent at the police hospital costs 45 cedis per head, which excludes medication and other expenses incurred. The Department of Social Welfare Services at the hospital is appealing to relatives of these patients to own up for their wards, or anyone who knows the relatives of these patients or has any useful information should contact the police hospital. 04 GBC24 Police Hospital, Accra.
And that's it in the health segment, brought to you by FPAC Blows Your Pain Away. We'll be back with some international stories.
Welcome back now to what's happening on the international front. A cargo plane has crashed after takeoff near the international airport in South Sudan's capital, Juba, killing at least 36 people. South Sudan's transport minister says 2 people were found alive, but one of them later died. Early on, officials had said there were 3 survivors. It is not yet known how many were killed on the plane or on the ground. The Antonov AN-12 plane was heading to Paloch, Upper Nile State, and crashed 800 meters away from the runway. The transport minister said that 36 people were confirmed dead, but a police officer and eyewitness reported that they had seen 41 bodies.
Egypt's flights from Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh to the UK have been delayed amid concerns that the Russian jet was brought down by an explosive device. Downing Street said all flights due to leave the holiday resort for Britain this evening are affected to allow UK experts to assess security. Delays had been brought in as a precautionary measure because more information has come to light. Russian Airbus 321 crashed on Saturday, killing all 224 people on board. And that's it for the international segment. We'll be back with sports.
Hello, good evening. An update from the world of sports. I'm Theophilus Sampa. This is in partnership with Tobinco Pharmaceuticals Limited, producers of Low Nut. Let's start off from Accra, where the Accra Turf Club ATC has put itself in readiness to revive horse racing in the capital. At our visit to the new race course at Adringano near Nungwa Agricultural Experimental Farm, work was almost at the finishing stages.
George is over there initiating the stable. Ace back, Aswabru, and
horse racing in Ghana has recorded remarkable growth and sizable following. The introduction of the sport in Ghana dates back to the 1920s and was the most popular pastime in Accra and Kumasi. The past decade has seen a decline in the sport due to many factors, including the relocation of the Accra Turf Club to Adringano near Zoom Lion headquarters in Accra. During a visit to the new race course at Adringano near Nungwa Agricultural Experimental Farm, this is how far the contractor Zakem Construction had developed the place. The first phase of the project has seen the 10 by 1200 stables with guest rooms for those who take care of the horses completed. On the issue of water, which is one of the essential nutrients a horse needs in order to perform a number of life support functions, including digestion and thermoregulation, these water storage tanks plus 3 boreholes dug and pipe-borne water have been available to ensure horses have access to water at all times. There is electricity to the place. 12 furlongs of the tracks, parading rings and ticket booths have been completed. The site supervisor of the new race course, Mr. Gabriel Fiado, tells us more.
For the past 8 years, this facility has been built. It's unfortunately, I don't know how happened. I have not been taken off. And it's a headache to the contractor, as my boss too. And finally, we are here. So we thank God that at long last, the battle has ended. By immense time, I think we are handing over to them partially. And as the painting and other things has done, then finally we hand over to them finally.
The secretary of the Accra TIF Club, Mr. Samoni Amatheksin, says all is set for the comeback of horse racing in a grand style.
The contractor has surprised all of us. At the moment, he has done the weeding of the whole compound, which is about to be completed. As we discussed the other day, the problem we have now here is for the jockeys and the horses to be training in the new tracks. That is why we cannot start, as we promised the public, that we will be starting the horse racing on the 5th of September. The horses and the jockeys and the trainers will have to be training on this new track. So it will take us about 6 to 7 weeks. There we can confidently say we are ready to start the novelty racing.
The publicity officer of the Accra TIF Club, Mr. Charles Bruce Tegu, said although he is happy at the progress made so far, more needs to be done.
So their impression is that racing is dead. I'm very impressed for the fact that there is structures being put up here in terms of stables, in terms of a good track and other facilities that are being put up here. I'm quite impressed that it's a sign of revival of horse racing, and I'm impressed about that.
With the registration of horses almost completed and the renewal of licenses completed, the Board of Stewards will soon come out with the definite start date for the commencement of horse racing in Ghana. Still in Accra, this year's Japan Week celebrations will be climaxed with the Ambassadors Karate and Judo Championship. The two-day event at the Accra Sports Stadium is expected to attract several athletes. Speaking to GBC24 ahead of the event, Ambassador Mr. Kuraru Yashimuru said all is set for a wonderful spectacle.
Judo and Karate-do has been deeply grounded in Ghana. What is special this year is that karate is to be a candidate of new sports in 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games, so that participants of Karate-do Championship might be a candidate of the player who will perform and participate in the match in the coming Olympic Games. I'm also looking forward to having Ghanaian judo player to participate in the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games.
That's all for sports.